It's your boy, and we're back with another Master Duel video. Today we're going to be showing off a new deck. It's going to be Regenesis. This is the list that we've been working with. It's playing Kaijus, Lava Golem, it's playing the Primite Engine, and it's playing Floodgates. This is the list that I ended up with on stream. It's got a ton of super poly targets because really it doesn't use the extra deck like that. Of course, it needs Typhon in there. Every deck needs Typhon if it's got the room. A ton of generic link options as well. The deck is pretty dang fun. It's really not bad. It's relatively consistent. I would recommend playing a healthy amount of cards to be able to have another 2500 stat line in your hand to be able to play your Regenesis cards. But still, overall, the deck is still pretty dang fun. I would recommend these ratios when it comes to the Regenesis cards. You play your 3 Archfiend, your 3 Regenesis, your 3 Regenesis Code. Those are your searchers, essentially. Those are what's going to get your engine online. Birth, definitely recommend playing at least 1. It can get the deck rolling a little bit. We played at 2. I was playing at 1 for a minute, but I couldn't really figure out anything else to fill the deck in, so we played at 2 to help bring up the consistency a little bit. How does it do that? Well, all the Regenesis monsters have this line at the end where during the opponent's end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add this card to your hand. So if you manage to get it into the graveyard during your opponent's turn, whether you do it or your opponent does it, it'll get added back to the hand. Unfortunately, that effect doesn't apply during your turn. I guess that would be too strong, but Regenesis Birth does send a Regenesis monster to the graveyard during your opponent's turn, so you can get your Regenesis cards going online. You play one of each of the other Regenesis monsters: Sage, Dragon, Warrior, Lord. They're pretty dang good cards. Probably the weakest card here is Regenesis Dragon, but the others are pretty dang strong. Sage is your Omni Negate. Warrior is going to be bouncing a monster, right? Return a monster. Yeah, one monster your opponent controls to the hand. And then Regenesis Dragon is your back row destruction. Lord will help you run things over. It doubles its attack. It has piercing. Of course, Archfiend is going to be searching your cards and getting all your other cards back online. Regenesis is amazing because not only does it search, it in the graveyard you can banish it and then special summon a Regenesis from the graveyard. Code does about the same thing as Regenesis does. It specials from the deck, and then, you know, both of these are, except for the turn that it was activated, you can banish it from the graveyard, and then special summon a banished Regenesis monster. Which, I mean, definitely comes up. Sometimes your opponent will banish it, on top of the fact that Regenesis Lord needs to banish a monster with 2500 original attack and defense in order to special summon itself out. So you're going to be using Code in order to get back that monster onto the field. You can also use Birth to get a Regenesis monster out of the banishment as well. You can send this card to the graveyard, special summon as many Regenesis monsters as possible with different names from your hand, graveyard, or banishment, but send them to the graveyard during the end phase. Really, really, really cool stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get into some replays here that I had on stream. There's definitely plenty of ways that you can play the deck. This is just the way that I ended up playing the deck, and we kind of adjusted the deck as we went along. So there might be some cards in there that you don't see in this list, but this is the list that is a bit more optimized at the end of the stream. We got our first game here, and we lost the coin toss. Our opponent's going first. But we got a pretty decent hand. We got Lava Golem and we got Super Poly. But it looks like we're playing against, you know it, you love it, you hate it, Malice. It's unfortunate. So they're going to go ahead and start doing their plays. And we're just going to wait it out, see what happens. We're really hoping to get this Super Poly to do some good stuff for us here. Maybe even use the Lava Golem as well, depending on whether or not they get the GWC online. So we're going to go ahead and go through their combo here. Speed it up. Right now I'm thinking, alright, we're probably going to lead with Super Poly. Get maybe like a what do you call it? Maybe Starving Venom, or we could even get Earth Golem at Ignister as well, depending on what they end on here. They have like an Appaloosa or whatever, but they did already use Splash Mage, so Earth Golem at Ignister isn't going to be quite as necessary, so it's looking at like we're going to be using Starving Venom here, but they do end up playing Transcode Talker, which is interesting. So they have their Allied on board, and they have their Cryptor. We're going to Super Poly and get Allied and Cryptor off the board immediately. They did activate Maxi, so we had to chain Super Poly there. We did Drew Lordly Load, so we can use our Drill Beam immediately. So we'll negate GWC. And they used Lancia to try to stop it, but fortunately it does still do the negate. We completely forgot that they used Lancia though. So unfortunately the SP Little Knight that we went to summon didn't do anything. We're going to go ahead and use Lordly Load again. And that's going to stop their entire turn. In this next game, we are going first, and we got a pretty decent hand. We're going to go ahead and use our Regenesis Archfiend to attempt to search. They'll go ahead and use Ash Blossom. That's fine. We have Regenesis in hand anyway. We also have Regenesis Birth and Talent, so we're pretty solid to play into Ash Blossom here. We'll look at their hand and notice that they're playing Regenesis as well, so it looks like we got our work cut out for us. It looks like it's going to be a pretty heavy grind game here. We'll go ahead and go for Sage and get our Omni Negate going, set our Birth, and pass. This is a misplay here. We shouldn't have done this. We went to go Book of Moon, their guy not realizing that Warrior is a quick effect. This is still in the early matches where I just didn't quite realize what the cards all did, but we'll go ahead and get our Sage bounced. They'll use a Nadir, pop our Birth, they'll get their Ecclesia online, and then they'll get their Archfiend going. They'll get Lord out, which is bad for us. Now they can run over our Archfiend, but he just didn't. I guess he didn't want it to get added to hand so we wouldn't get any more advantage. But fortunately for us, and he goes ahead and uses Birth here and flips down our Archfiend for some reason, but we'll go ahead and flip up Archfiend and then just summon Sage for an Omni Negate, and then we top deck Archfiend and we get to go ahead and go for a search anyway. And he just scoops it up right there. Unfortunate. It really looked like that game was going to end up being a much bigger grind game there. We got our third game here. We ended up going second. We only really have Maxi and Kaiju, but we got a pretty solid hand. We got Maxi, Kaiju, plus our Primite engine and our Regenesis engine in the form of Code. We go to Maxi them. They're on Orcust. Unfortunately, they do have the called by. Pretty predictable, honestly. Ton of outs to Maxi these days. He does activate triple Tactics talents and rip out the Kaiju, unfortunately. And then he starts going full combo through Nightmare Mermail and through their Orcust combos. So now we're kind of in a rough spot. It looks like we're kind of hoping that they go for the counter trap. It feels a little bit easier to play through. But we'll see how this goes. They end up making a Savage Dragon, though, which is very surprising. I didn't see that coming. So we've got a couple of plays. We did draw Warrior, though, Regenesis Warrior. So we're going to use that to try and bait out one of the Omni Negates immediately. So it baits out the counter trap. And then we'll play Lordly Load. And that should bait out the Savage Dragon. And then we'll go ahead and play Regenesis Code. Get to Archfiend. We'll get our Graveyard banished when we go for our search, because we did activate a spell card while they have a Kashtira monster and Kashtira Birth in their spell and trap zone. We'll get to Regenesis. They'll banish another card out of our extra deck, but that's not much of a big deal. And we'll go for Lord and get Birth on the field, just so we don't lose our graveyard, and run over his Savage Dragon. So we'll pass to him. He goes into Dingirsu, he goes for Ascend. We'll go ahead and use Regenesis Birth to send and then flip his Dingirsu down. But he goes ahead and tributes for Lancia, so he can get Dingirsu into the graveyard, goes into IP Masquerena, resummons the Kashtira Unicorn, and then he ends up using his Orcus monsters in grave. Really bad position for us, honestly. He goes and uses Longirsu to spin 2 banish back into the deck, and then uses Galatea to spin a 3rd one back into the deck. So he's got everything online. He's got his field spell. He's got Access Code Talker online as well. Fortunately for us, he does pop our Birth with Access Code, but fortunately for us, just barely not lethal. We're surviving with 200 life points. Unfortunately, he is banishing our Regenesis, which is a problem. That's going to really make getting our Regenesis Lord back out kind of impossible. But we top deck Regenesis Archfiend, and then he just scoops it up right there. It really looked like it was going to be another grind game, but for some reason, Orcus really just didn't want to play into this. Very strange, but I mean, hey, we'll take any wins that we can get here. That's going to be it for the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is the list, again, if you missed it the first time. The deck is very fun. It's not bad. It's pretty decent. It can play Floodgates pretty well. Honestly, Power Sink Stone is pretty clutch a lot of times. It's basically skill drain if 2 monster effects were activated that turn. Even if you use a monster effect as well, you can get one of the counters needed in order to get that online as a skill drain. It's honestly a bit more effective, in my opinion, than actual skill drain. As you can see, we do play skill drain. Because you can get like your few monster effects during that turn for your search for your Archfiend, or maybe get like an Omni Negate with your Sage or whatever, and then just floodgate the board. But I mean, of course, you know, it's not a deck that has a ton of interruptions, but it's a pretty fun deck either way. It has a really solid grind game. It has some really powerful effects. It's very hard to get it offline once it gets rolling, but I recommend it if you've got the materials. If you don't, I fully understand. It is pretty dang expensive. I mean, truthfully, it is rough that Archfiend and Regenesis and Lord are all ultra rares. So that's 7 ultra rares just to play the deck, just to play the main engine in itself. You can, of course, play stuff other than like the Primi engine if you don't want to cough up the yours or don't have it. But either way, I do love the fact that we get to play Summon Skull. And that's like the main reason why the Primi engine's in here. It's a 2500 stat line. Is it the best 2500 stat line? Not really, but it's Summon Skull, baby. I mean, we gotta play Summon Skull. You know what I'm saying? But again, that's gonna be it for the video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys next time. Later.